Today's topic is crafting a hero story and the brilliance of narrative reframe.
Welcome to Radiant Genius Podcast. I'm Elsa Mehary, a creative strategist and feminine entrepreneur. Join me and the occasional guest where we will illuminate the path to brilliance in wellness, tech, and business trends. I will be guiding you through the journey of your inner genius to transform you into your most brilliant and badass self. Give yourself permission to live out loud at the brightest level.
Welcome to this week's episode of Radiant Genius Podcast. I'm Elsa Mehary, creative strategist and entrepreneur. We are all heroes in our own story. For you to even get this far, the earth had to become habitable. Every single one of your ancestors had to survive long enough for your parents to meet. And out of 300 million of those sperm, you were born. If that's not main character energy, I don't know what is. However, there are times that we can get off track and not really embody the magnificence of who we are, or even misrepresent ourselves or believe false stories about ourselves. Maybe you were told something that wasn't true in childhood, or you adopted a story that wasn't your own, and that didn't really represent who you are or who you can become. Have you ever seen the Olympic athletes talking to themselves right before competition? They're psyching themselves up. You can just see the lips moving. You got this. You're amazing. It's self-coaching in a way, and it's built upon their own self-approval matrix. And this self-approval matrix that will really get you anywhere you want to go. It's your internal navigation that a lot of people have lost because of many different reasons. But this internal validation is so important if you want any real level of success. And it is the story that you tell yourself about yourself. Anything is possible. You can do this. You're amazing. You're the best. You're the most magnetic person on the planet. That's not going to make you rich or successful or allow you to meet your next opportunity necessarily, but that is the foundation that allows the opening. And that also is what creates a certain perception of you in the world. So when the opportunity comes toward you, that opportunity will recognize you as, yes, you're what I was looking for, versus, oh, I thought it was you, but it's not quite the representation because this person doesn't believe in themselves, or the story that I'm hearing is not what I thought it was. And so even if you have a coach, life coach, Olympic coach, financial coach, whatever, you have to believe that you are able to make it happen. Can we just mention Ray Gunn, who was the Australian hip-hop candidate in the new hip-hop category that premiered at the Olympics 2024? I would say the level of, you could call it belief, you can call it delusion, whatever you want to call it, but it got her to the Olympics in the competition, and she didn't look nervous. She didn't look like, I don't know what I'm doing. She went on to do interviews, perform, pre-post, and she's like one of the most trending viral topics. I'm holding back laughter here because the talent level and the skill level didn't really compare. And if you think about who most Olympians are and what they have to embody, she didn't necessarily have it, but she had the belief in herself. So that's really what I want to bring forward here is like, no matter what anybody on the outside says, what your inside says is, I'm amazing and I can do this. And literally that's what got her there. I don't know her background. I don't know if she's only had an easy, successful life, which is maybe allowed that level of belief or delusion. But I want to talk a little bit about when you have a series of failures and you're like, I thought it was amazing, but like, I don't really know what's going on because it's just been a lot of misses at this point. And so it can be very difficult to feel like you're ever going to get back on top. And really, how do you approach that? And I will say everyone goes through some level of defeat. That's what builds character. That's what actually we're here for, to experience the spectrum. The polarity of the planet is good, bad, light, dark, win, lose. This is the realm that we're all here for. If you only had good, there wouldn't be anything to contrast, and that wouldn't be the human experience. And so it's very difficult to want to hear that, accept it, but that is really a part of why we're embodied in this form, is for all of that, the happy, the sad. And so I want to really stress that there's no avoiding these difficult moments, but after they pass, processing them and reflecting what you tell yourself about your experience, if you were able to get through it, how you got through it, if you crawled through it, if you walked through it, if you sobbed through it and you made it through it. Either way, on the other side, the story that you're telling people is what really makes the difference in going forward and how you look back at something. I bet you Ray Gunn is telling the story. She's not telling the story of I got 0 points in the Olympics and finished last. She's telling the story of I made it to the Olympics and now I'm a viral star. But even though the facts, you could look at it many different ways, but the story she's telling herself, trust and believe, is the hero story. So that's why we're here. We are going to figure out, what is that story for you? So I want to share a little bit about a very difficult time that happened to me, and really the narrative and how I had to every day reframe it to myself, because I could really have come out of the situation being like, it's all bad, or I'm a badass and I made it through that and I lived to tell it, and I'm doing a podcast about it. So a few years ago, I moved to Miami from New York City, and everyone was telling me like, oh, I'll see you in a year, or you're going to hate it. It's horrible, all these things, right? This was pre-pandemic. And, Miami was a very different place, pre-remote work, let's just say. Culturally, it's very different from New York, pacing, etc. I just needed a break. I've been living a hectic lifestyle, entrepreneurial lifestyle. I was working a full-time job. Had a lot of clients, had a jewelry company. I was doing a lot of things. I think I was even doing Airbnb. Rich Dad, Poor Dad says have active and passive income. I think I had all active, like 6 different active. And it was fun, but I was not balanced in resting. I paid the price for that. And so I dropped everything and I was like, I just have to move. So I moved, kept my apartment, left everything. And Miami was not, I would say, an energetic match for a long-term situation. Perfect for rest, which is actually what I needed. Perfect for if you're retired, a lot of different things, right? But it wasn't an alignment for me. And I was really sad about it. And I really had to process, like, I wasn't able to make this work out. But literally the 10 steps ahead, it was perfect, because what was to come, COVID. When I moved back like after 9 months. I was like, thank God I'm back in New York, my people, like just everything, like the pacing, the critical thinking, the self-starter, everything. There's no beach, there's no sun. Yes. And, people here, it's different. But I felt like I have things to do and I want to do them. And I was able to do them here in a way, but I was able to get that rest. And a few months before COVID, I was having some health issues, not COVID, but separate. And I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had a surgery at the beginning of March, and I found out that I would need chemotherapy. And I was really just devastated, because I was like, I just moved back, like things were going great again. Like I had everything picked back up. And 1 week later, COVID hit and shut everything down. So I went through that whole experience with a lot of love and emotional support. But physically, outside of my medical team, I was completely alone in the experience. I didn't get visitors. I had a whole itinerary planned out. I was like, who's going to come take me out to dinner after each session? Who's going to sit with me, hold my hand? Who's going to I don't know, Cook for me, like it was all mapped out. And there was an app that was so great that would like help organize. None of that happened. And not only that, but a lot of people were dealing with their own fears, deaths, losses, family. It just was overwhelming. So I didn't have even as much emotional support as I was expecting to get, that I had heard that you get, when you're sick in that way. And so I really set up a system to rely on different therapists. And it was really just, I made it work. And I would say it built a lot of character. I went through it with a lot of grace. It was very, very difficult for me. I'm really grateful for that 9-month break that I had in Miami before all hell broke loose, to be quite honest. And this is, the story in hindsight, that it prepared me for remote working. It prepared me for instability. It prepared me for change. It prepared me for so many things. And I wouldn't say just Miami prepared me for difficulties, but it was almost a precursor. And I really had the resilience to make it through that. And I had a lot of gratitude. Moving back, it was like the gratitude. And so there's so many things that I would choose consciously each day to say, I have gratitude that I'm able to do this much. I have gratitude that I have help in this way. I have gratitude that I'm able to make it through. It was a pivotal point. And when I look back, it was the unhealed version of me that I left behind. And I entered into a new era. And that is how I tell the story. It is an arc of who I was and who I became through that experience, the phoenix rising, if you will. And metaphorically, I speak about it as really a journey that is so pivotal to creating my new life. And I look upon the whole experience with such gratitude. I have, physical scars from that experience. I have emotional scars. I lost a lot of friends. A lot of people, when faced with mortality, are just not able to deal. And that was difficult. But those people I accept as not being witness to the new me. And so it was really processing it. So along with the hero journey is processing so that you can accept, and then telling the story in a way that reframes things so that you are the main character. You are the hero. You survived in whatever way you want to share. And the thing is, you don't have to share all the details. You can share as much or as little, but ultimately it's how you feel about the experience. If you feel that this experience allowed you to become anew, have anew, create anew, live anew, heal, grow, is really the most important thing. And it's really how you feel about it. If you feel that this was for your highest good, then the story that you tell ultimately will reflect that. This is how Nelson Mandela was able to go through prison and come out with no hate for his captors, and then went on to lead the nation of South Africa into a apartheid-free state. This is how Simone Biles was able to win medals with the sprained ankle. This is a tool, and it's not for the weak, but it's a method that will allow you to overcome when you think you cannot. And this assumes you have the mental fortitude, because, if you're mentally unstable, you won't be able to use these tools, obviously. But if you have a strong mind, use the mind to reframe how you feel about and think about an experience. And it won't be in the moment. It might be after you've processed specifically. So to recapture, acknowledge the experience or the failure. Recognize what went wrong without sugarcoating it to yourself, and maybe privately or with a therapist. Be honest about the situation. If it's, I dated a narcissist for 1 year, I lost everything, I had to rebuild. Well, what is that experience? That is, I need stronger boundaries. The result is you develop stronger boundaries after dealing with that situation. It allows you to build trust with yourself and process the experience. Identify what you learned in the lesson. Think about what it taught you, Because every setback offers valuable insights that can help you grow personally and professionally, and focus on the skills, the knowledge, the perspectives, the emotional growth that you had from the experience, and then shift the energy. You could see it as the failure, as the end, and you're still recovering. And that might be true, but you can also view it as redirecting you. You were in this bad space, maybe a city that didn't align, and it redirected, but like it gave you an opportunity to refresh. It gave you an opportunity to rest. When I left Miami, I will say the skin was glowing. Even though I think I had cancer at that point, I didn't know it. But just like being at the beach every other day, it literally was a 15-minute walk, which isn't the case in New York. It was the sun. It was the air. My cortisol balance was low. And I mean, if nothing else, my Libra was happy about that. If nothing else, like I did make a lot of money. I wasn't that productive, but actually that's what I needed exactly at that time. You know, I could say like, oh, I lost a lot of money and nothing really happened, but was it essential to actually what was about to take place? Absolutely. So your outlook will help you turn a negative experience into a story of resilience and growth. And also, if you are able to be vulnerable with one or two people while you're in this difficulty, that will help as well. I wasn't able to have as much physical support, but I will say shout out to my friend Marisela. She literally during COVID would pick me up and we would go to the beach. Outside was empty, so it was like nobody around, completely empty. People were just afraid, but I had to go to the hospital constantly. I had to be out in these streets getting my medical care, which wasn't fun, obviously, but having someone pick me up and take me to the beach during that time, during my treatment, a few days a month was a godsend. And, you know, so of course I had people send me gifts and calls and a lot of other resources. People sent me things and were so kind and checked on me. And this allowed me to feel really cared for, even though I was physically alone for the most part. Highlighting resilience and growth in the storytelling, right? And to yourself, the storytelling to yourself before you tell outside. And emphasize how you bounce back. Like, you know what? I made it through. And I really am fortunate. I lost a lot of friends from cancer, and just like all the celebrities, every time I heard a celebrity pass away, I was triggered. Like that could have been me. It will affect you forever because now you're a part of this group. Emphasize really how you bounce back and what you did differently afterwards. I think I was pretty healthy before, to be honest, but like now I really prioritize my health and not just going to the gym every day or eating really well, but like cutting out negativity, anyone that stresses me, no drama, like protecting the peace, like that. I think stress was a large part of how I was developed the illness, to be quite honest. And so really incorporate and share how this has shifted your new perspective and your new lifestyle. And I feel, you know, this is a tool. It really helps you, but then it also sharing your story helps a lot of other people too. And really that's success, right? It's like, are you helping other people through something that affected you and you can connect the dots to success? You know, not all success is just monetary. Not all success is like I survived cancer. Success is I was able to move and then move and then move again in my life, in my mind, in my experiences, and in my person. Like I'm a whole other person. And you know, a lot of people, maybe they're making a lot of money, but they're still the same person they were at 25, possibly. Connecting this to a broader goal, really relating the failure and the growth to your larger life. And like, what is this doing for you? And really that's more important to who you are as a person. And share or not share, this is a story that you tell yourself, and this is your own main character hero story. And that is what I have for you today. Sharing this becomes your superpower. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Radiant Genius. Next week, we will discuss the flexibility factor and the brilliance of adaptability.
Thanks for listening, sending soothing calm to your nervous system. Hit subscribe and join me on this feminine-led entrepreneurial journey. The Radiant Genius podcast, where we discuss all things brilliant.